It's been interesting because I think you're right. I think that watching his interaction with her, I don't think he quite knows what to do with her because she has no interest in bowing down. She's not any of that stuff. She is immediately establishing, I am 10 times, if not 100 times cooler than you. And that's not going to change no matter what
Mhm.
happens. And I think that he doesn't quite know exactly what to do with that. My name is Brittlestar, not really.
And I'm Sandy Garacino, really.
And this is Canada Watching U.S. News. So last night was the big debate that everyone was hoping was going to be good. And I feel that it was best summed up by a tweet by you, Sandy, where I believe, now I'm going to paraphrase. If you know the exact words, please help me out here. But I looked at my phone last night. I was otherwise preoccupied last night at a rock and roll show. And I watched the most of the debate today. But I did check last night and I saw the tweet that said, I need a cigarette. I feel like I need a cigarette now. I thought, she's not a stress smoker, so this is a good sign.
It was so good. It was so good. That felt so good, Stuart. That was the best.
It's getting hot in here just thinking about this. It was something. It was sort of like, it was a bit of a vindication. It was a bit of almost like a, it was a bit like a release. I think you're right. I don't want to get too gross and too dirty with it, but I think you're exactly right.
We've been so pent up for so long. We have been waiting 9 MF years for somebody to take that son of a bitch to the woodshed and give it to him like he deserves. And he got it. He got it. That was a joyous, euphoric, brilliant, marvelous experience.
For sure. And as Biden may have waited for Trump to spew nonsense and then act indignant about it. Kamala intentionally goaded Trump into making multiple ridiculous statements throughout the night. It was kind of joyous in a sense. I mean, there was so many different things I made note of when I was watching her that she was exactly the kind, very similar to Obama in a sense that I feel she's incredibly smart. I feel that I do not want to spend any time with her whatsoever personally, but I want to maybe meet her at some point. That'd be lovely. But I feel I'd be way too intimidated and I'd be like, this person is just like stinking at confidence, but in all the best possible ways.
Yeah.
From the very first moment when they walked out to their podiums and I felt kind of almost sheepishly walked behind his podium. And then she kind of strode over, kind of stayed out front and shook his hand and then introduced herself because they'd never actually met in person before. Fabulous.
He was afraid of her. You could see it. He was uncomfortable from the get-go, and she just went right in there. She sensed it, and she went in for the kill from the opening handshake. And everything about it was so remarkable. I mean, there's so much more to be said about this, but it's like, he changed the color of his hair. Did you notice that? He had his hair done differently. He changed the color of his hair, which is a signal of weakness to my mind. So right. My husband and I, of course, we were all talking about it. And my husband thought, he decided not to look so old. He thought that the blonde hair was making him look old, so he wanted to look a bit younger. He looked like that was Grecian formula.
See, I was going to give him.
And he looked vain. He looked vain because he changed his appearance.
He always looks vain, I think, to me. But I think that that was the one point I was going to give him for the debate was I was like, you know what? I like the new haircut. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good haircut.
Well, it was sort of presidential, sort of. If it wasn't that he self-consciously felt that he had to make a change because how he looked wasn't good enough.
Well, I think that was one of the big things is that it was evident that Trump was immediately on his back foot as soon as they got out there. He was trying desperately to hold it together in the first few minutes of the debate. And then you could see it was just compounding this sort of fear, this sort of back-footedness, this idea that he was like losing confidence and he was kind of panicking a little bit because I felt like one of the greatest things I noticed about the debate was that, of course, every time Trump would speak and say something, whatever he would say. Either way, he'd take you down a tangent to a side road so you'd forget where you were going. She would just sort of put her hand on her chin.
Yep.
I thought this is going to be how arguments are won from now on. It's just this.
Yep.
Just do that in front of someone.
That look, just that look. We're all us girls are practicing it now. We're all dressing up and ordering the special radio conspiracy earrings and just practicing. I don't know if anybody heard about this, but there's, of course, the right wing is erupting because her $800 earrings were actually truly sending
like
radio
intercom
messages. Yeah, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's way too down the rabbit hole. What I want to say is Kamala had and has had Trump's number, and we haven't seen it coming. And she had it, and we heard it first on July 23rd, the first statement that she made about Donald Trump once her candidacy was out there. I think this was the day after that President Biden dropped out of the race and endorsed her, and then she made a statement. And can we play that now, just so that we can all hear it?
As many of you know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his.
There's just so much there. I mean, she's evidently incredibly smart. The idea that the Democrats have someone smarter than her feeding her answers is pretty funny through secret headphones or earrings. But I also really like and this is a very superficial thing, and I feel kind of weird about saying, because I don't mean it like I would note it in someone else as well. That thing, when I call it moon eyes, when someone sort of squeezes their eyes a little bit tight, but they're kind of like pushed up at the bottom a little bit, and you're sort of like, And I'll tell you, like, Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta, does it here. But when she does it, it's like, I think she's doing it because she can't quite understand what's happening. However, I feel like whenever I saw Kamala do it, and I've seen her do it in various press things and also in the debate, it's like, you're like, oh man, she is like 3 steps ahead. She's like, you're going to say this, I'm going to say this, you're going to say this, I'm going to say this. And it's just something to watch, isn't it? It's such a joy to have someone who's so quick and so smart. Hopefully going to be steering the ship.
And just so, I mean, how she played him through that debate was absolutely remarkable. That was a masterclass, an absolute masterclass in baiting to lure him into, because she knows that he has no impulse control at all. This is a guy who is absolutely congenitally unable to stop himself. He couldn't stop himself from saying, and I don't know if we've got that clip. There was a point in which he literally said about Kamala that she put out, and then it was all phrased.
Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
Now,
every woman watching that knew exactly what he was doing. And then he planted that. But she lured him into all of that.
Well, that's just it. Like his rhetoric that he once relied on as an offensive and his sort of like huge sort of shotgun blast style of attack and debate and argument. It used to work, but I think that she was so ready for it that it made all of those attempts of his to sound like bad responses. Like he was again on his back foot the whole time. He's playing defense the whole debate.
Mm-hmm.
And it was magnificent to see. I hadn't seen because I was tight for time because again I was at a rock and roll concert last night.
Big mistake.
You watched your own rock and roll concert, as it were, on ABC. But I did catch up most of it, except for that scene which we just played, the clip we just played. And I am flabbergasted that he would think it was even remotely wise to say put out.
Yep.
I can't understand how any part of his brain would think this is going to be a good move for me.
And then he follows up with, I said that. It's like, because that he thought about, should I say it in some way in this debate? Is this gonna help me? And it's like, it was such a loser move. And it was a loser move because you could smell the fear. For the first time, we haven't seen Donald Trump really afraid, I don't think, as in conflict with other people, in a debate with other people, apart from when he was running around with his tail between his legs around Vladimir Putin in Helsinki. But we have not seen him. We haven't seen him afraid, and he was absolutely afraid. I was really impressed with how much this debate, even though in a funny way, neither one of the candidates really answered questions or hard questions that were put to them. I mean, even Kamala Harris she was very successful in kind of skating on some of the tougher questions that were put to her. But I made some notes. Like this debate was actually, for a single debate over an hour and a half, it was packed, and all credit to the moderators, David Muir, and I'm gonna miss the other moderator's name. We're gonna have to come in with that. And it was packed. Economic policy, Obamacare, economy, foreign policy, crime, law enforcement, the border, and it was really packed. And even though Kamala Harris was very adept at as they say, pivoting and answering questions the way that she wanted to, but it was just so beautiful how she was covering that ground delicately, but he completely failed. He failed on the Afghan withdrawal. He failed on the border and all of this stuff. I mean, the spinning, of course, everybody and their dog, especially their dogs, have heard about they're eating dogs, they're eating cats, they're eating the pigs. We're gonna. Everybody's heard this. This was absolutely, totally out of control.
It's the moderators' names are, of course, Lindsay Davis and David Muir. Thanks to producer Owen for that.
And they did a great job.
They did a phenomenal job. They did a really great job. It came across in the best possible way. It wasn't pedantic. It wasn't both sides, false equivalency. It was very much like we'll give you a chance to speak, but we're also going to tell you, well, no, that doesn't make any sense, or that's been proven wrong, or whatever, which was so refreshing.
So disciplined and crisp, how David Muir was doing this when the whole this narrative about the dogs and the cats, which relates to Springfield, and it is a disgusting and a racist thing that's being put out there. But
it is
the very, very crisp fact checking and stopping in real time, as we've been waiting for moderators to do this, because it's not. This is the thing about the media, the whole both sides. Well, he says this, and then Kamala Harris says that. Well, no, like there are actual facts. And the participants, the debaters, should be being held to the facts.
And they did it in a very abrasive, herky-jerky style. Like, it was very smooth. It felt like it was all just part of the conversation. They kept things moving. They kept things flowing. I wanted to just now I feel bad because I've never seen you so happy, and I don't. I don't want to ruin
I'm so
that.
happy. I'm so happy.
Oh,
It's
good.
like Christmas. It's like Christmas, Stuart. It's like I want to start playing Mariah Carey's Christmas music. It's like do, 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 do. Anyway, let's hope.
I'll try not to bring you down too much then. It's not really to bring you down, but it's one of the things I did note when I was watching the debate was that one of the things that Trump is a master at, he's very good at, is he will use his tangents as an excuse to drop in
Yes.
monosyllable. I can't even say the word anymore. It doesn't matter. Really short sentences, really short phrases, really sort of short slogans, where I think to myself, the majority of people who are tuning in, I'm not sure he lost any existing supporters. He might have, I think he's certainly lost people who were sitting on the fence for whatever God knows reason were sitting on the fence. I'm sure he's lost some of those people for sure after the debate. But the people who support him, that debate didn't change minds because he would say something, some sort of weird tangent in response to the question about the Middle East, and he would end up going way down some other road, and it would be like, by the end of it, you're like, did he actually say anything about that at all? And all you remember is his little catchphrases and his little sort of, things like, I did it best, and that the economy's never better, and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff, where he's just lying, but he's saying it. And those things are out, those lines are just out there in the air, and that's what's being picked up, and that's what's being the confirmation bias of his supporters getting picked up. And I worry because I don't worry. I don't want to bum you out. But I worry because I think of the George Carlin quote that Eli Mistel posted on Twitter. And he said, I'm very happy, but I'm stuck with the George Carlin quote. Think of how stupid the average person is and realize half of them are stupider than that. And I thought, yeah, that's a problem. So I mean, again, maybe we only have to get that little sliver of people. Maybe that's all they need.
Well, it's really just, this goes back to one of our earliest podcasts, swing voters in swing states. But I also, so one of the things that I think about this question and the fact that there is such a division, and this is something that I think that the polls are not really picking up so much. First of all, I don't even think that this is about policy. Everybody says that they want to hear more policy. Actually, they don't really want to hear more policy.
I agree.
I think that what was important in this debate was that Kamala Harris made Donald Trump look like a loser. This is why he never conceded in the 2020 election. He doesn't actually even want to be president. I think one of the big reasons he's running is he wants to stay out of jail, and jail is starting to look like a more realistic prospect all the time. He doesn't want to be president. He can't even stay awake during the day. He couldn't stay awake during his own trial. He's eating cheesies and tweeting in the middle of the night. This is kind of what he was doing. He's not interested in the job of president. He wants to be president because he wants to be the world's biggest winner.
Yeah. And
he could not accept the verdict of the people in 2020 because it would make him the loser, and he will never in his entire life, well, except for that whisker when he said in the debate.
But he was just being sarcastic, Sandy.
He was just being sarcastic that he lost. That was just, he still even wouldn't even admit it in the debate, even when the whole country can see. But this is because he knows how damaging it is for Donald J. Trump to be a loser. And Kamala Harris made Donald J. Trump a loser, and she put a leash on him and walked him like a dog, and everybody could see it. And so that's not going to change the hardliners, but that's not who. We always know that those people are in the election. They're going to exist. But you know what? I think a lot of people might not go out and vote the way they were going to vote. I think that Kamala Harris's supporters, and this is what I think the polls are not picking up, which is two things. The ground game is going to be incredibly energized for the Democrats up and down the ticket. Yeah. And they are energized for her now. And we haven't even talked about Taylor Swift. So we'll get to that. Yeah. But there's going to be a massive amount of energy, young energy, volunteer energy, voter registration energy, all of this, bam, 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 that is going to be huge. The get out the vote effort is going to be such a professionally run operation on the Democrat side. And the Republican side, what people aren't really talking about is how the Trump family has basically siphoned so much of the money out of the Republican campaign. I think there's a lot of silence and shushing about lack of resources up and down the ticket apart from Donald Trump. But I don't think the organization is going to be there, but also the energy is not going to be there. And I think there's going to be a lot of people, and especially as we start to see, and we are going to be seeing, I don't think that Dick Cheney, last week, remember, Liz Cheney is never going to endorse Kamala Harris. So confident I was. Not only, and within hours, there she was endorsing. And then her father, a day later or 2 days later. I think this is the beginning of a lot more. And especially when you see such a masterful performance. You saw Romney today saying very good things and how competent she was and capable. I think there's going to start to see a big landslide of former Republicans and also business leaders, because as we know, Wharton, that was a real dagger into Donald Trump's ribs. That the Wharton Business School has said that he will raise the deficit by many times more than her spending plans will. And Goldman Sachs has come out saying that she's going to grow the economy. Donald Trump is going to shrink all of these messages I think are incrementally building to a permission structure for the more conservative guys to either vote for her or to stay home. There's still massively more of them. They're going to be out there, those hardliners. But that's where I think that this race is going to be won. And I do now believe it will be won. She's so freaking fearless. I think it's going to be one on energy and organization and get out the vote. And she's giving them every ounce of oxygen that they need to accomplish that. That's my TED Talk. Sorry.
No, that was good. That was good. I think you make a really great point about how there are people that would have normally never thought of voting for Kamala or who would only vote for Trump. And now they've been given an excuse to kind of get out of it. And also you mentioned, speaking about how Trump refuses to lose. He refuses to be branded as a loser, as a weirdo. He hates the weirdo thing was like way more impactful than I thought it was going to be. But he hates it because it's bad for his brand, and it's bad for, as any good marketer knows, brand alignment is super important. If you're aligned with a bunch of weirdos, suddenly your brand doesn't look so hot, doesn't look so great. And one of the most, I thought, razor sharp things that Kamala said to Trump was to invite people to attend his rallies. And I loved that. I loved it so much because that basically said, don't take my word for it. Okay. Go check out his rallies.
Go do your own research.
There's a core group of people who are going to those rallies. And those people are never being reached by any messaging that Kamala Harris says. They're never being reached by news. They're doing their thing, whatever, that's fine. But there are a bunch of other people who are like, well, they can't be that bad. And if someone says, hey, go yourself, actually go, get in the car, drive to a rally, check it out, tell me what you think. That's hugely powerful and
And they're bored and they're leaving.
They're bored
because they're bored.
Further brand hits for Trump. They're bored. They're not even only are they weird, not only are they racist, not only are they whatever, but they're bored. They're bored of it, and they're leaving.
And they're his own biggest fans are walking out on him because they're exhausted and they're bored. And what was so beautiful about it was, one, it's true. Number two, she baited him into the crowd size comparison.
Yes.
And, nobody goes to Kamala Harris's rallies. And it was just so perfect because, of course, we all can see the huge rallies that she's getting and that she's getting bigger rallies. Hers are bigger than his. And he loses the rally competition. The masterful making a point and throwing out a lure at the same time to a really stupid fish.
But a super stupid fish. And, just the fact that she's a lawyer, and it's like, she knows how to do this. She knows how to set a conversation up. She knows how to guide people into a certain trap, essentially, for better or worse. But she's so good at it. And to think that Trump is like, he has bombast. That's all he has is bombast. And she's got him. She just didn't get flustered. Even when you could tell she was getting passionate about something, or she was getting angered, or whatever, her emotions were coming up a little higher. She still maintained that calm that was like, oh, she might be more Teflon than he is. Like, she's not being flustered by anything.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things. There's so many things that happened. It was like
things, Stuart.
it was,
so
I know,
many things.
it was like reality coming face to face with a fever dream. It was just like, what is happening? Talking about the transgender operations and illegal aliens and stuff like that. And she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns. She'll never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. That's two sentences, and you've got transgender things in there. You've got fracking, and you've got guns. That's impressive. It's word soup though. It means nothing. And of course, it's not true. Like, none of that stuff true. And then, of course, her following up with, that both her and Tim Walz are gun owners, which is a Canadian. I was like, eh. But at the same time, I get it. I think that they need to be in that position.
Well, after what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Well, yeah, exactly. Do we feel? I think we're pretty much in agreement that the Democrats are refreshed. They're powerful. There's a lot of energy, as you said. There's a lot of ground energy that will propel them. Are we in any danger of being in a Hillary Clinton situation where everyone looked at the polls and went, oh, we're set? Could apathy screw the Democrats over?
No. First of all, the what happened to Hillary had started a year earlier. And as you recall, all the media outlets and the New York Times and everybody got baited into this whole thing of having the emails thing on the front page for over a year. By this time in the 2016 campaign, a huge number of people already were having doubts. Remember, it was Crooked Hillary.
Yeah.
And you can't trust her and lock her up. and even on the left, she also had that incredible attack on her from the Bernie bros and from the left that really undercut her and undermined her. And of course, a lot of the left are denying that ever happened now, but all the rest of us know what we saw, that there was a real undermining of confidence. I'm going to talk, and of course, there was the Comey letter. Now, we could still have a Comey letter, and we could still have an October surprise. But there's something about this race that makes me feel that the Republicans they're almost out of gas. They had been preparing for Hillary Clinton for years. And I think they really underestimated Kamala Harris. I think everybody underestimated Kamala Harris and didn't think that she was going to be that kind of a candidate, like right out of the gate, a compelling, brilliant candidate. Hillary Clinton has never been a great campaigner. As strong as she was as a candidate, as prepared as she was, she's never been a great campaigner, and everybody has always known it. What I remember the most about the 2016 campaign, I remember waking up at 4 a.m. with night sweats. Like it was right after the Comey letter. And it was NPR was playing listener responses and listener views. And there was a man who phoned in to say that, and this was after the Comey letter in October was released. And he was saying that, he had a daughter. She was about 12 years old, and she had been and he and the whole family were so excited that there was going to be a woman president, and they were all cheering for this and getting ready for this moment. And then when the Comey letter came, he said, his daughter looked at him and said, "Daddy, but maybe she's not a good lady." And in that moment, I really felt, oh, Jesus, this is it. This is it. Because she didn't really have an answer to that. Now, this is a long-winded way of me saying that those ingredients, that doubt, that's what Trump traded on. And also Trump was a surprise candidate in that election. Mm-hmm. He was the disruptor. He was the change. Hillary Clinton represented the past, represented more of the same. If you look at what the American electorate always goes for, and they have done it pretty consistently, they go for the change candidate. That's what Barack Obama was. That's what gave Bernie Sanders such strength to take over a party that he'd had nothing to do with for 40-some years in government. That's what powered Donald Trump. And then, in a way, it powered Joe Biden because he was the change from Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And Kamala Harris represents change, and Americans love new. They love change, even if they don't know what it represents, but they do love it. It's magnetic. And I don't see that this is going to be an election anywhere like 2016. That doesn't mean she's going to win. But I think all the tones, the nuances, the themes, the sub-themes, the emotional energy is very, very different.
I want to go back to the moderators because, again, as you're saying, Lindsay Davis and David Muir from ABC, they were phenomenal. They were smooth. They were all that kind of stuff and all the good stuff that you want a moderator to be. Just thinking about Trump's racist and completely unfounded claims of Haitian immigrants stealing and eating house pets, which is just, as you'd said, racist, first of all. And just also, come on, man. It was quickly clarified to be false by the moderators, citing the city of Springfield city manager disputing the claims entirely. And then David Muir, the moderator, went on to point out that according to FBI data, crime had actually declined in the past few years, to which Trump responded, "Yeah, but the FBI office is a fraud." Basically, he said, "Like you can't believe the FBI. You can't." And that's his MO. His MO is just like, "You can't believe anybody except me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you what's right, but even if you can figure it out, from what I'm saying." When Trump then also claimed that the Democrats allowed execution of babies after birth, which then Lindsay Davis, the moderator Lindsay Davis, had to clarify, of course, it is not legal in literally any state to do that because, of course, it's just plain old murder at that point. And I can't figure out from, maybe it's just my perspective. Maybe if I say it's my Canadianism, maybe, but it's probably just the fact that I am somewhat sentient, at least on a base level, that anyone would hear the argument about the abortions happening in the 9th month or after term. It's like, what? No, that's called murder. That's just murder. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. But there's still some people who are just blindly believing it. And in that, again, that style, that buckshot style that Trump has of just saying a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. Like that those 2 sentences that had guns, transgender, and whatever the other thing was. I totally forget the other thing now. That's classic for him.
Pick any of them.
Pick any of them, exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of his MO, and that's kind of his best tactic, is that he's able to sort of just make you completely forget what you were talking about in the first place. But the moderators did a pretty good job, and I think they did even better than the CNN hosted debate in July. Yeah. Yeah. And do we think that real-time fact-checking works well, or does it matter? It's so hard because, as you said as well, I noticed too that there's the questions, and it's like this for pretty much every presidential debate or any leadership debate, where there'll be a question. You're not just going to get an answer. You're going to get kind of an answer that leads into what they actually just want to say instead about something else. It could be something else entirely. But do we think the fact-checking helps?
Well, again, I think that this, a lot course, the Republicans hate it. So that's the fact that they've been complaining about it, and Trump has been complaining about it, even though he wiped the floor with Kamala Harris, according to him, but he still had to deal with these terrible moderators. That tells you that it does work. I think in a way there's a referee function to moderating, not just asking questions. I do think that, especially when there's someone who is openly lying, egregiously lying in a way, especially a lie that is a racist lie, or is or a sexist lie, or something like that. A lie that that attacks some part of the community. I think that the moderators have a special obligation to address it and to correct it. And I thought that they did it just admirably well, because it wasn't like confrontational. It was just like, we're calling that, we're throwing the flag. Here it is. I have a question for you, Stuart, which is, well, two things. One of the things that I thought that was just delicious in this whole souffle of glory was how Kamala, and I haven't heard seen very much commentary about this, how she turned the tables on him in this way. She used the kind of attacks that he has always made against other people, and almost in the exact language. You're a disgrace. The military leaders, the generals, are calling you a disgrace. Like that's classic Trump. This is a disgrace. You're a disgrace. Biden is a disgrace. It's so weak. You're a disgrace. They're laughing at you. Remember that? He said, the whole world is laughing at us. The whole world is laughing at Biden. And she says, other world leaders are laughing at you. I mean, that was all, that was part of the baiting. It was part of the barb, but it was very specific, because if you think about Donald Trump, so much of what he says is really projection, because he really only ever thinks about himself. So what he thinks is a good attack on somebody else is something that he would be terribly afraid that somebody would say about him. And that autocrats and dictators are they're rooting for you because they know they can manipulate you. They know that you're putty in their hands. So here's my question for you, which is, there was a remarkable way that I thought that she really dominated him. And I had been kind of afraid that she might do that. I was talking to somebody yesterday saying, she has to be careful not to emasculate him, if you know what I mean, because there's so much gender, icky, messy emotions about this, that this is a male, female confrontation election. And my friend, who was a man, he agreed, like, she's got to be strong, but she can't be too strong. She can't emasculate him. She can't humiliate him, because that sends a bad message. It makes her look bad to look too good, in a sense. So tell me what you think about that, and how you thought that dynamic played out.
I think, she's had lots of experience being in very powerful positions as a woman, and maintaining that perceived notion of what it means to be a woman. I guess it's sort of the feminine aspects of that, the softer aspects. But at the same time, as you mentioned, is calling him a disgrace and all that kind of stuff is very strongman language. That doesn't, if she can say those things without getting, quote, hysterical, she's won. She's done him in. Angry. Without getting angry. Exactly. If she can do that, then she's somehow been able to maintain her femininity, as it were, and then also been able to land a devastating blow. It reminds me of, there's a woman that we know whose name's Mandy Bujold, who's a Olympic boxer, and she boxed for Canada. She won gold at Pan Am Games. Her. She's a wonderful person, very nice, incredibly lovely. And I remember we'd filmed some stuff with her, and she arrived for the filming in this lovely cocktail dress, her hair all done up and makeup and all that kind of stuff. But you knew if she wanted to, she could have leveled me with one punch.
Don't cross her.
Don't cross her, because she will flatten you. And it reminded me of that in the sense that she had all the, like, she didn't sacrifice any of her womanness or femininity by being strong. And of course you don't have to. I mean, I think that it's evident that you don't have to. But I think that comes across with Kamala as well, in things like doing things like the hands on the chin, the moon eyes and stuff like that, where she's, and the smiling as just sort of taking things, because she's giving him rope to hang himself.
Smile. The gorgeous smile.
Oh,
now,
she's got great teeth.
Sorry, I'm practicing being Kamala. But tell me if this is what I think worth talking about. I'm interested in this because I think that her beauty is extremely disarming. I think a lot of the things that maybe other more mortal women who are not exquisite looking. I mean, she exudes presidential presence.
She does.
Her dress, her looks, but also, and I think that this is actually, I wonder if this is a kind of Achilles heel that Trump is afraid of, because of course, beautiful women are kind of his weakness, aren't they? And, and do you think there's an element of maybe unnoticed power in the fact that she is an extraordinarily beautiful woman? I mean, she's nearly 60. Look at her. But she's exquisite looking, I think. But I'm interested in, because, a lot of women aren't sensitive to a lot of the kind of things, the vibes that guys pick up. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that she's, like, to me, I haven't at any point thought to myself, wow, she's really good looking. I can tell you,
she's not hot.
Yeah.
She's not a hottie.
If I pause and go, no, she's well in shape. She carries herself well. She's a good looking woman for sure. Absolutely. But I don't see that as eclipsing her power in any way. And I say that
does it add to it?
I think it disarms. I think exactly as that. I think for people like Trump, they don't know how to deal with it. I think I've been fortunate enough to deal with lots of powerful women, and in as friends or as in business or whatever, and you kind of have this understanding of like, I'm discussing things with you on this level, this topic right now. It has nothing to do with how you look or who you are. It's what you're saying, what you're doing. That's the important stuff. She's got that down pat. She also has the benefit to someone like Trump of being classically attractive for someone like him. And I think that you're right. I think you even noticed it with the fact that he looked her in the eye, I think, or looked at her at least anyway, when they shook hands, but then didn't look at her the rest of the night. He didn't look at
her again.
And she was shooting daggers at him at various points.
And she looked straight at him. Yes. She looked straight at him. He was afraid of her.
Total power move. Just that idea of, I remember my father-in-law telling me ages ago, silence is your best negotiating tool. You don't have to say anything, and you'll get further in an argument sometimes that way. And that part of that is just the idea of, I can look at you. I can just look straight at you, and that will do intense damage, and it will remind you that I am absolutely comfortable being where I am, saying what I'm saying, and doing what I'm doing right now. And that's incredibly impactful and incredibly powerful. And it's a huge benefit to her, and good for her. I mean, it's great. You think back at other people as well, like other presidents. And I mean, again, Obama, good looking guy, undeniable. I've never thought to myself, wow, he's a good looking dude. He should be president. But it's like he was smart, and he did all the right things. He was really well spoken, a great orator, and all that kind of stuff. Like just a really smart guy. And you then sort of can go at the same time, he's also like a really good looking guy. Yeah, so that's great. And then same for other presidents, whatever. So I think it's been interesting, because I think you're right. I think that watching his interaction with her, I don't think he quite knows what to do with her, because she has no interest in bowing down. She's not shrill. She's not any of that stuff. She is immediately establishing, I am 10 times, if not 100 times cooler than you, and that's not going to change no matter what happens. And I think that he doesn't quite know exactly what to do with that. I think he doesn't know how to act in that regard. I don't think he defers to it. I think he just literally doesn't know how to react to it and respond to it, apart from trying to get her to be shrill, get her to be emotional, get her to be over angry and all that kind of stuff. And if he's not doing that, which he tried desperately, like he would say the most, egregious sort of things to her and about how she was stupid and all that kind of stuff. And she would just hand on the chin.
Yeah.
Are you done yet, sweetie? Are you done? And it's like, damn it. He feels like he's wasted all his cannon fire. You know what I mean?
But I love the pure art of her expression when he started with they're eating cats and dogs. she couldn't stop herself. She kind of lost it then. And that was beautiful to watch. Beautiful to watch.
A couple of things that just sort of that stuck out as I was watching, which I really loved, was what we mentioned earlier, lost by a whisker. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. Everybody knows that sarcastic phrase. And I thought, I don't think, are we all familiar with that? Sarcastic? Is it lost by a whisker? That's not a sarcastic phrase. It means the opposite. That I also loved when he started one of his tirades with, let's leave this debate right now. I thought to myself, he wants to end that sentence right there.
Yep.
Let's leave this debate right now. Okay, good night. Yeah. I did really enjoy when he said Houthis, which was fantastic. He was just classic. And then David Muir saying to him, you said previously you could stop the Ukraine war in 24 hours, which you said again right before the break. And I thought that's a testament to how good they were at moderating and the producers as well of the debate. And that he could say something on a record and then say it again. They're like, you've just said it again, like seconds ago, which is fantastic. And then my last big favorite was Abdul, the leader of the Taliban, and his house, where, of course, he said that he had spoken to Abdul, the fictitious leader of the Taliban. Apparently, there's no one named Abdul that is leading the Taliban in Afghanistan. And sent him a picture of his house, and Abdul said, why are you sending me this? And he said, you'll have to figure that out. Which is, that's a romanticized version of what he thinks being president is. Yeah. It's just, he thinks it's the mob boss. That's it. It's the mob boss.
Sir.
Yeah.
All these tough Taliban. And then they met me and they said, sir, and
they had tears in their eyes.
Tears in their eyes.
They said, sir,
one of
don't
my
blow up
favorite
my house.
As we're coming to the end, I'm sorry for I saw the pollen in the air. Sorry, guys.
No.
But one of my favorite moments of the evening was the moment where all of us watching knew that Harris wanted to call him a bad word, and we know her favorite swear word. I wonder if Owen can play it now. What her favorite swear word was, and then maybe the clip where she almost said it on national TV.
And this former president, as president, invited them.
That's just sort of has. It's exactly the same as Obama doing the, his size of the crowd.
Yeah,
that's a rehearsed bit. It's a devastatingly good bit. It's just so good. I love it.
Yeah. It was so perfect. And one of the things in closing that there was a tweet by Stuart Stevens, who's a former Republican strategist and campaign advisor who's been on a number of the networks, and he's one of the Never Trumpers now. But he put out a tweet, which I won't have it exactly at hand, but he was talking about how so many people are giving, and as they should, enormous credit to the campaign, to the debate preparation team, to everybody who really knew how to do and prepare Harris for this debate. But he said, but there's some things you can't teach. And that was like throwing 4 no-hitters in a World Series. Again, with a qualifier, the election isn't over. We don't know, but that from a debate performance point of view, this isn't just that she got trained by really smart people. No. This is a brilliant debater and politician, and it was a master class. And I hope it is studied for years, if not decades.
I'm sure it will be. Shortly after the debate, of course, Taylor Swift announced that she was going to be giving her political endorsement to Kamala Harris. and then referring to Trump's use of her likeness, meaning Taylor Swift's likeness via AI, and then JD Vance's childless cat lady remarks. These guys, I mean, the fact that they have friends that are women, never mind partners, is mind-boggling. I think that kind of endorsement is going to hold some sort of sway. I feel it's going to hold a massive sway, especially in young voters. And by young, I mean under 30. People who would maybe be a little more apathetic, who are like, you know what? Yeah, this is a good idea. And there's obviously the argument against that kind of thing would be that it's a fabricated support, but I'm not sure it is. I think it's just a case of someone saying, it's a case of Taylor Swift saying, well, I mean, fabricated support in the sense that the only reason they're going to vote for it is because Taylor Swift told them to.
Oh,
no, I think that it's that they are going to vote, period, because Taylor Swift told them to. Who they vote for is up to them.
But everybody knows what the impact of her getting, especially her public, her fans, the Swifties, that massive army. Those are young women.
Yeah,
and everybody knows what the young women are going to be voting for and why.
Yeah.
And again, I this is something that I often feel that doesn't go, and we've talked about it before, Stuart, and I think it sometimes doesn't resonate. I see it when I see a lot of the men who are pundits talking about the politics and talking about the economy, and of course, and for them, abortion is just an issue. Right. For every woman of childbearing age, every voting woman of childbearing age, the issue of family planning and reproduction is something that we deal with intimately. This is an intimate matter, and we deal with it constantly, all year long, every month. All year long, there is no escape from it for women. And I think it's easy for men to put abortion and family planning and issues of reproduction out of their minds, because if they're not thinking about it, it's not really a thing. Women don't have that luxury. And so it has a resonance and an importance that I think, and an influence in this election that I think anybody would be very foolish to underestimate its significance, especially when coupled with the issue with two issues, the issue of sexual assault and violence against women, which can result in unwanted pregnancies, and also with family planning and IVF. And this is just not an issue that's like other issues. It's not like jobs and interest rates and the economy. I mean, all of those things are really, really deeply held values and important. But I never feel like I often don't feel like male pundits are really appreciating how what a chord it strikes amongst women to talk about this, and for Kamala Harris to talk about women bleeding out in hospital emergency parking lots because they cannot get health care. This is so powerful. This is such powerful imagery. And just a few weeks ago, Trump was saying, I don't think this is going to be, I think that's kind of over. And everybody wanted it anyway, as he said in the debate yesterday. Everybody wanted this. And it's all of that. Anyway, I'm carrying on too long. I said what I wanted to say.
No, I think you're right. And I think it is a massive issue. And it's an issue that's at the forefront. And I think you're right. There's numerous, pundits and stuff are not going to, male pundits are not going to be able to properly.
And Taylor Swift gets that.
Yes, and exactly, the male guys, the guys who are not going to be able to fully grasp it, no matter how hard they try. But you're right. Someone like Taylor Swift speaking out, and just in general, this issue has never been, I don't think, nearly as much at the forefront of a presidential election as it is now. And I don't want us to jinx it, so don't say anything. Don't predict anything. But have we killed your buzz, or is it still, you still have your buzz still?
I'm high. I'm still loving it. I'm going to love it all the way in. I feel like this. I was worried. I was scared. Were you scared? I was scared. I was terrified.
I was a little scared, but what's horrible is that, the Biden-Trump debate, I went into it thinking, no, it should be okay. And it was horrendous. So my expectations were, and dread levels were already,
I wanted to hide under the bed.
charts.
I only watched it, and I watched it live. I wasn't like you at a rock concert. I watched it live because we were going to talk about it today.
I know,
So
it's because you're diligent,
I got to
Sandy.
get this in. I'm diligent. I'm a good student.
Exactly.
And I watched it in real time, but I really wanted to be hiding under the bed. But boom, right from the starting gun.
Well, we finally did it. I think we made a happy episode. That's pretty good. Hooray! That was the whole goal in the first place. Thank you so much for watching and or listening to Canada Watching U.S. News. You can, of course, find us at CanadaWatchingUSNews.com, where you can subscribe with your email address, and you'll get a notification every time there's a new episode. You can also find us in your favorite podcasting platform. But yeah, thanks so much. We'll see you next week, and maybe next week's will be fun too. Hopefully.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much. See you then.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
The audio version of Canada Watching U.S. News was produced, engineered, and edited by Owen Reynolds. The video version of the podcast was edited by Lisa Cumming. Our theme music is by Owen Reynolds. You can find past episodes and more at CanadaWatchingUSNews.com or your favorite podcast platform.